All right. Hello and welcome to Sass Bites. Get the tweet out there, good to go. This is your weekly bite of Sass during your lunch break. And today I bring cats. There's two actually. Another one over there somewhere. Yes. So I'm your host, Micah Godbolt. You can follow me down there. You can follow Sass Bites at Sass Bites on Twitter. Catch up on previous episodes at youtube.com/Twitter. We have been going through a little series here. Well, it's actually going to be a big series when it's done, of kind of putting together a best practices, big, huge web project, really like an architecture of a project. So we've been starting with some of the basics of getting our framework in place. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have a really good Grunt system that's going to build all this for us and get all the moving pieces going. Last couple of weeks, I've walked through like the real basic setups of Grunt. Last week, I put in a couple more modules to kind of give us a little more functionality with that server and compile HTML together. And this week, we're actually going to we're going to bite off a big chunk. I was actually going to jump into HTML and like just throw all the HTML and go. But I've actually decided what I'm going to do is go style guide direction. We're actually going to start building our components first in our style guide. And then once all the components are put together, we'll actually start composing them actually into a page. So instead of building the page and vice versa, we're going to start with a style guide. So for that, I need lots of dependencies and I need a style guide. So that's what we're going to do today if I can get through it without completely blowing it up. I wrote all this at 35,000 feet on a plane with extremely horrible Wi-Fi. So we'll see how the whole process goes. If you didn't catch, well, hopefully you caught the tweet. I've got a gist with pretty much the entire setup I'm going to be walking through. These are the notes I made for myself, so I just had everything to go through. You're welcome to go through them as well, follow along, or just read through. If you missed something I wrote, I'm going to be really going through them pretty much verbatim, and I'll have them in the release notes on the GitHub account as well. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and jump into doing this. All right, we're good to go. So the first thing we need to do, like we do each week, we start with the fresh repo from GitHub, just so that we can kind of see how it is to start this project and how other people would be able to use the project as well, and make sure that we're not assuming anything with any of the dependencies or anything. So I'm going to, that's big enough. I'm going to git clone from the Sass Bites demo on my GitHub account, and I'm going to cd into it. And this time I was smart enough to move the old folder I made. So here we are in Sass Bites demo. I've pulled all that stuff down. So first thing, really, I don't need to do it right now. Let's do it later. Thanks. All right. So then the first thing I need to do from this, let's go ahead and bring it up and Sublime off to the side. You see it's really bare bones. So we've got that include folder with our little test HTML, our Sass folder. And that's it. We've got a grunt file and package.json. And that's really where really all the magic happens. So the first thing we need to do is an npm install, because we need to pull in all of our node packages, which includes Grunt and all the other packages we're currently using. So we really can't do much until we get that started. So let's do an npm install. By the way, this is the process that sucks on an airplane with really bad Wi-Fi. I mean, then again, I'm pulling down Git repos on an airplane, but I can't complain that much. So as I said, we're going to be diving through, be setting up really like our full suite of dependency management. Right now, we've been using npm node package manager to pull in all of our node tools. But those are just things that really deal with like the node environment and Grunt environment and those kind of things. All the JavaScript stuff that makes all of our tools work. But we're going to need some other things. We're going to need gems. We're going to need just some straight up Git repos of code. We're going to need lots of little pieces to make all this work. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to get all of this other dependency tools set up and in place and wired into our system as well. So the first one we're going to do, since we are still going to be using Ruby, we're not going like full on libsass or anything like that yet. I might consider doing that another time. We are going to install Bundler. Bundler is a gem dependency manager that allows us to basically give it a manifest of gems that we need with particular versions, and it's automatically going to pull those down and make sure that we're using those gems. So we're going to make sure Bundler is installed. I've already got it, but might as well go through the process. And gems take forever on a plane. I'm just going to keep going back to this thing, I swear. So that was nice and fast. We're good to go. And then once we do that, we've got Bundler installed. we're inside of our, we're inside the folder of our Styleguide demo. We're going to do bundle init. And most of these package managers have an init function like this, and it basically creates the gem file that you're going to need to get started with it. And you see it's real basic. They've got a source. Ruby gems is typically where you go to get all of your gems, so that's where it's going to look. And it's got an example of like if I want to include Rails, I could just uncomment this and do that. Now, I don't need Rails, but I need a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to copy and paste this over. Avoid the typing, avoid the typos, and avoid the thundering of the keyboard. So we're going to pull in Compass. We're going to pull in Suzy, Breakpoint, Hologram, Sass globbing. I think that's all I'm going to need. If I add some later, don't fault me. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do in the future. So those are the ones we're going to pull in. Currently, with this code this way, it's just going to pull in the newest versions, which for me really is just completely fine and not a problem. I can be more explicit with the versions, and maybe I'll show that later. I've got a Sass Bytes episode of this that specifically looks at how you can do different versions of like only this version or only this version or higher, but not higher than this. And there's a lot in there. If you go to the bundler website, it explains each of those tools. So with that, there's actually one more thing I want to do in here is I want to update Compass. If we go here to Compass, there we are, Compass. And after build, I want to do bundle exec. Now this is an option, and we'll pass in true. Okay. This is an option inside of the Compass, the Grunt contrib Compass that allows me to, when I run Compass compile or Compass watch, to do it with bundle exec Compass watch. And what that does, and again, it's not going to make a huge difference with us, but it's just good practice, is it enforces when you run Compass to use the versions of the gems you specify here. So this might happen where, say with Sass, actually I should probably include Sass, shouldn't I? Just in case. Gem, Sass. I didn't include that in my notes. All right, so I'll include Sass in there. Like maybe you need to be writing Sass 3.3 for some reason, not 3.4, which is the newest. You can use bundle exec to make sure that when you run Compass Watch, it specifically uses that gem and not the newest version, which you might have installed in your system. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. Again, we don't have versions, so it's not going to really make a difference, but best practice to do. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to run this real quick just to show you. If you type bundle, it's going to go out to Ruby gems. It's going to find all those versions. It's going to pull them all down, including all their dependencies. It's not going to make a huge difference on my machine because I've got most of those already. But that's what bundle allows you to do, and that's the command we're also going to put into our system. So we'll do that in just a little bit because we aren't actually quite ready to do it yet. So the next dependency management we're going to look at is called Bower. Bower is a tool that was, I think, developed by the guys over at Twitter and Twitter Bootstrap. It's kind of where it started up, but it's turned into really good, robust dependency management for basically everything that's not a node package or not specifically a gem. It's just like a chunk of code out in a Git repo or something that you want to be able to pull down. But you don't always want to pull all of it down like every single time, or you don't want to like pull another Git repo and have to manage an actual Git repo. So what this does, it can go to Git repos and pull content down, but you can also specify with a file in that Git repo of, well, when Bower calls this, what files to actually give. So you can actually keep your build system away from it and just pass out the build, like the actual build files. The files get compiled down. That's the stuff that actually gets sent out. So it's a great tool for doing that, and we're going to use that for one of the themes. Actually, we're going to use it for a couple things. To pull down some JavaScript and a theme for our style guide. So a couple things about Bower. For one, if we're doing this setup, if you're following along, you're going to want to do this. You're going to do an npm install -g for global of Bower. And what this does is Bower and install it into your global, your computer system, so it's always there. The advantage of this is then now you can actually do, it's going to put the symlinks and all that kind of stuff, update your, I don't know the computer, how the computer lingo on it. It's going to mean that I can actually do this. That I can actually type Bower, and it's going to actually say, hey, I've got Bower in here. But what we're also going to do is we're going to install Bower locally into this repo. What this means is that if someone's using this, it's going to have Bower installed, and it can automatically use it, and they don't have to install it locally. It's just one of the npm packages. But for us setting this up, we want to make sure it's installed globally, because some of these next commands just aren't going to work until you actually have it installed globally. But let's go ahead and let's install Bower as a local component. And that's just going to be npm install Bower without the G. And we're going to do -- save dev. So this is saved as a developer dependency. And that's going to pull all those files down again and put them right into our node modules. So instead of referencing them on our local environment, you're going to see they're going to be in here, our node modules. And when we call Bower, we can call it from there. How we do it is a different question, and we'll get into that in just a little bit as well. And just like Bundler has an init, Bower has one as well, so we'll do that. Now, when you do Bower init, it's going to ask you a bunch of questions because it has a similar setup to the package.json, where it like has names and versions and all that kind of stuff. You can really just enter through all of this. Yes, looks good. Good to go. All right, and it's just going to create the basic shell with the ignores that you're going to want to use. Because again, you see here, like if you have node modules in your Bower package and you pull the Bower package in, you want to ignore some of those. That's some of that stuff there. Anyway, this is just the basic stuff. It's really not going to matter the stuff in here. All right, moving on. So let's go ahead and let's do one other thing. We want to make sure that we can call Bower. We want to make sure we can call Bower from Grunt, but we need to have the path that gets down to the local one. And the easiest way to do that is there's several of them that I've seen, but there's some npm packages that allow us to run these Bower commands from within our Grunt system and not have to depend on it being installed locally. And one of them is called Grunt Bower task. So we're going to install that, save dev. So that's one of our developer dependencies. And then we're going to set that up, and I'll kind of show you what that does. It's basically if you don't have it installed locally and you just type Bower, it's going to go, I don't know what Bower means. So this just allows us to have a good path, and it gives us some more options about how to organize the Bower packages after they come in as well. So we've got our Bower. That's when we install packages, they're automatically getting going there, which I hope, yeah, I've got that later on down the road. All right, so let's go ahead and go to our Grunt file. Okay. Go to Grunt file, and we're going to configure this Bower package. Let's go under Compass. That works. Here's Bower, the install options. We're going to set a target directory of lib, because we're going to have this like library folder everything is going to go into. And then I've also set clean Bower directory to true, so that after it's done, it's going to clean out that Bower components directory, so you don't have a duplication of that. So that is that. And then, like any other module, we need to load it up. Add to this big expanding list. The list is going to get large. And then we want to put Bower in here like that. Good to go. So now we've got Bower, so that when we run Grunt, it's going to call this Bower command. It's going to go ahead and call Bower from the local and go and pull everything down. And actually, I haven't 100% tested that, so I believe that's what's going to happen. I should test that. I need to remove Bower from my local or my global settings and try it. All right, so we've got those tasks in there. The next thing we want to be able to do is we also want to be able to run Bundler from here as well. So whenever we run our default tasks, it's going to run Bundler, and it's going to run Bower, and then it's going to do stuff just to make sure we have all the updated packages. The problem is that for some reason, I don't know if it's just not possible to write or what, but there's no npm package for Bundler that I've run into. But fortunately, there is something that makes it really easy to run Bundler, and that is an npm module called shell or grunt shell. So we're going to do it. We're going to add that right now. npm install grunt shell -- save dev. And this is a great one. Actually, I love the shell one just in general, because anything you can run on the command line as like okay, after I do this, now run this on the command line. You can turn that into a little little task you can run within Grunt. So let's go ahead and let's add in Grunt shell. We have that. Again, I don't think the order of those matter at all. And now let's configure shell. Nope. You can have multiple shell commands. The first bundler, I don't know if we're going to do any others, but you can add multiple down here. And really just pass it a command. You pass it a command. I'm trying to say, you pass it a command that you would otherwise just toss into the command line. So what we're actually going to pass it is bundle -- path lib. And this is interesting because trying to remove dependencies of the system, we're actually going to install all of our gems into this lib folder. So all of our gems and all of our Bower components are all going to be in this lib folder and are usable from within there. So that's the command that's actually going to get run when we do that. And then I just need to add it to here to add to our default task. And to do that, we're going to say shell, and then we're going to tell it we want the bundler version, the bundler command within shell, and do a comment, and we're good to go. Cool. So we're going to do this pretty quick, assuming I didn't make any typos and the whole thing blows up on me later, but that's why I have a backup. So we've got all of those installed. We can now, and I have a test to see if it works from here, but let's try it. We'll run Grunt. So it's going to shell. It's going to go find all those gems, and specifically it needs to install them right now because it's going to install them locally. So it's going to go do that. It's going to grab Sass and Sassy maps, and breakpoint. And when it does it, it's also going to be putting a little a hidden file within your directory stating where these gems are, so that next time it runs, it actually looks there locally. And that's one thing I was kind of curious about. It was like, okay, after they're local, how does it work? How they're we can take a look at it in a little bit once it gets in there if we need to. So it's going to do shell. It's going to do all that. The Bower install is going to run. There's nothing there. And then it runs Compass. It includes all of our files together like we did last week. It spins up our server. It starts watching. And not that anything changed, but we still have our local host pops up right here, and we're good to go. So we know all of that's working. I have not made a typo yet, which is really awesome. So let's move on to the next pieces. We've got a few more modules that we want to install that just kind of finish out this list and also get our style guide going. So the first thing I want to do is, oh, and actually, if you didn't notice it, I kind of already started it. If we go to our gem file, I actually included hologram here as a gem. So hologram is the style guide they're going to be using. It's a style guide put together by the team over at Trulia, and I love it. I think it's really cool. I'll talk about the praises of it in a bit, but here's a start of it. We needed the gem, so I made sure to include it in the gem file. But what we also want to do is there's an npm package that kind of is a wrapper around it that allows us to communicate with it and do commands with it really easily. So instead of just passing shell commands down into through Grunt, there's actually a module for it. So we're going to go ahead and use that because it makes life a little bit easier. npm install grunt-hologram, save dev. Again, this isn't the actual hologram. It's just something that allows us to communicate with a lot easier. And then we're going to also install Cortana. Now, Cortana, it's not the Microsoft person on the phone. Cortana is a theme that was developed for hologram. Hologram is kind of more of a build process. I think it might have a really raw theme. But it's extensible, and you can build themes for it. You can take all the stuff that it gives you and put it through your own templates and your own theme. And this one actually uses Angular and Bootstrap and all sorts of stuff to make it like a really compelling user experience. I really enjoyed it. It kind of shows off the power of what you can do with hologram all within a theme, and it's also a Bower package, so you can make changes and fork it if you need to. So we're going to do that, and again, it's -- save dev. So next person that comes along and does the installs automatically going to get Cortana installed. One more we're going to toss in here just while we're at it is EQJS. I think I have the right one here. EQJS is element query JavaScript made by Snugug Sam Richards, which is a great little, really small little bit of JavaScript that'll help us to kind of emulate the idea of having element queries. Like if this element is so big like, over 500 pixels, attach this class, and then we can do different styles. It's pretty cool. We'll show some of that off later. But while I'm at it, I just want to go ahead and add it right now. And I'm pretty sure it's EQ.js. Of course, it's not. What is it? Element. See if I can find it super fast. So I get for not having my notes up to date. And EQ.js. I know I did something probably just stupid. It is. It's dot. All right. So it's EQ.js. And boom. All right, we're good to go. And actually, he's suggesting it as save. So it's not a developer, and that's right. Surely it's not a developer dependency. It's an actual just dependency of this. So it's not needed just to build, but it's also needed as something that gets used during deployment as well. So that's good. So if you go to our bower.json, you can see it's here. I probably don't need it in the dev dependency as well. Hopefully that didn't break it. Oh, it looks good. So you can see we have dev dependency of Cortana, and we have a just a general dependency of EQ.js. So anytime we run Bower in the future, those will get pulled down. If there's a new version, we can update that, and new versions get pulled down, all that kind of good stuff. So we're good. All right. So let's wrap this up because we've been doing a bunch. We're just going to get a real quick stub going for hologram so we can take a look at it and see just how much work we actually got done here and see what else I missed. Okay, we got that and that. Okay, let's do that. And all right, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to give a folder for hologram. I like to put all the hologram stuff one place. So we're going to do make directory of a hologram folder and move into there. And this is where we're going to do our hologram init. Again, a lot of these things just have these little init functions that allow us to kind of scaffold the tools we need. So it creates a doc asset, it's a header, footer, and really the main important thing is this YAML file where our configuration is going to go. So if we go into this, you see it's already got some defaults. I'm going to paste in a big block of them that I will go through another time that's specifically built for Cortana. You see we're diving into libcortana and the markdown renderer and the documentation assets for Cortana. So, and anyway, we're looking in Sass to find all of our documentation. Destination is going out to build Styleguide. We're including our style CSS. We're including jQuery, and namescope allows us to basically make categories and subcategories. I'm sure I'll talk about a lot of this later, but I want to get that in there real quick. So last couple of things, getting our grunt file set up so we can run this. Go to our grunt file. Let's go ahead and configure it. Order. So hologram, generate options. If you go to the Grunt hologram page, it talks all about this in the option configuration. So all it needs to know is where is the hologram config file. It's in a folder called hologram config. You're good to go. And again, you could have multiple of these. They're pulling from different places and going different places. So just to note, there are multiple. And someone's pinging me. All right. So checking if that was important. Not the moment. All right, so let's go ahead and drop in our npm task so that it knows about that as well. And we're just about done. So last thing we're going to do is a quick example of what hologram does. So we're going to jump into Sass in our style. And we're going to add a little doc block in here. If you're doing anything in Drupal, you definitely know your doc blocks. It's a little bit of code that goes up at the top of a page that describes what's inside of it. And that's exactly what hologram's used for. We've got this little comment with the word doc after it. We've got the little, not gray matter, the little, this is basically a markdown block. And I know there's a name for that and it escapes me. Someone will tweet at me. It's going to show up on the right. I can just tell you. And then it's all markdown. So you can throw stuff in here like, that. You can throw in links. You can throw in lists. I mean, it's markdown. You can put tables in here. You can do all sorts of stuff, really whatever you want. This is a documentation area. But what we can also do is HTML examples. And this HTML example is a specific keyword that says, hey, this is HTML. And this will actually get taken and rendered out in HTML with the HTML example down below it. There's one other thing as well that actually I don't have in the notes, is we're going to create a new file that's readme.md. I believe that's what I said it was. And this is what's going to be our index file. So it's going to generate our index file from this README file. This is my index. Great. And that is the end of my notes, besides ignoring things, which I'll do after I make sure this is all good to go. So if I type grunt, bring this over here. When I hit grunt, install all the things, which we already kind of did. Run that. Oh, I know I forgot. One more time. I should probably go in here and add this. Let's see. We're going to compile, do the includes. We'll do hologram here. Like I didn't run hologram. Oh, no surprise. One more time. So we're going to run hologram on this as well. And it still popped in the other page. Nice. All right. So this brings us, I've got the server currently pointed to our build folder, which you can see our index file right here. Ooh, in style guide folder. And then we've got our style guide going in that style guide. I did that so we can see the same CSS. And just go back up and find it. But it does mean we need to go / style guide. You can see I've done this before. And here's our style guide. Now, as you can tell, I've been doing our styles are basically taking all divs and just rotating them like crazy. So you can see the styles are working all over the place, and probably a little too much. And then you can see, wow, that's hilarious. Actually, I guess I haven't tried this whole thing with this code. So you can see what it does actually. It puts our, my divs are crazy. Of course. Here, I'm going to take this off real quick. That's a little much. Run this one more time. A little better. So this is the index page. You can see I was able to fill this out in the README. Obviously, you can have tons of stuff in there. You can kind of talk about your build process, talk about how things go together, have links to pages inside of the tool guide, the style guide, and all that. But you see on this flyout, it's going to have all the different components that you build. So we have this component that has a title of div. It's in the base div category, and it's right here. So we can go take a look at it. Yeah. Why go down there? That's odd. It shouldn't go down there for some reason. I'll have to check that out. Anyway, my divs are crazy. Here's the example of it. Oh, you know why? Because I had too many. That's funny. Because Markdown, when you have it indented, it thinks it's code. And yeah, anyway, so I decided to take those indents out. And now it's going to see those 3 hashes, those 3 slashes as my code. Style guide. That's better. Of course, everything's pink, but life goes on. So you can see down here, it puts the actual markup. And then up here, it puts how that markup looks and is displayed. Obviously, putting things on div is probably not the best idea. So let's just do this. We're div in here too much. Let's give us a class of foo. And let's actually just make this foo. This will clean things up dramatically. And as you can tell, I'm having to run this each time because I have not set up all my watchers yet. Obviously, there's a lot to do. I'll set up the watchers next time. So here's our style guide as it looks without crazy pink all over the place. Here's our base div. And here's these div, each one of them with a background of pink and a color of white because of those styles. So this allows us to basically document all of our components. As we build component after component after component, it shows what markup we're using, because we can put the markup here in the example, and it actually displays that markup using the exact same CSS. So we can kind of like build our pieces here, get the looks that we want, and then from there, we can then start putting those pieces together and build our site. So that's going to be the plan. We've got most of our pieces in place. I'm going to get the watching stuff. I might just throw that in so we can get started on it next week, because it's really just more code. But this is going to be the idea. We can start building our components here one by one until we have a library of them that allows us to build a site. So that's it. 25 minutes or so of craziness. I got most of it in that document. Apparently, I missed a couple things and had a typo. I'll see if hopefully I can edit that and clean that up a little bit. But we put in all of dependency management. So if someone was to pull this down directly, which I'm going to push this up, they would be able to pull it down. They would just be able to npm install and then they should just be able to hit Grunt at that point as long as they have Bundler installed. And it's just going to run. It's going to pull down all the dependencies that are required. It's going to spin up a server, and it's going to create the style guide, and it's going to point you right there, and should be beautiful. I'll need to test it just to make sure I don't have any bugs in there, but that's the idea of how this goes. So we do go to get status. We're going to see we're going to have a bunch of stuff we're going to want to remove. This .bundle file, I don't think we're going to want that because that's created when Bundler actually runs. Gem file lock, I think we're kind of back and forth. I think people leave that one in. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Our bower.json, we definitely want to commit that. Hologram folder has all of our config files. We definitely want that. Our lib folder, we definitely want to remove because that's just all of the Bower components and gem files we're pulling in. So we don't want that. And then Sass, that readme, we definitely want in there. So we'll update our git ignore, and we'll see if we got what we need. So now we just want to have, those are untracked there. Hologram, good. All right, so let's add all the things in there. Git add. Commit it. And this is in week 3, dependency. Yeah, all the things. And we're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and push this up, git push, and that'll be up on GitHub now. I'll make a tag of it, but that's our state now. So we have everything we need to just pull the project down, run it, and rock and roll. And while I'm here, let's go ahead and be crazy and try this. Let me find where that is, this git clone. And we're going to try this one more time. We're going to git clone. We need to say, let's call it temp2, because I think I already have a temp. Oh, hold on. Two, and we're going to pull this down. Temp2, git clone. We're going to pull down and attempt 2. Temp. Oh, I'm already in there. Haha. And we should be able to go npm install. That's going to pull down all of our node packet or node modules for Grunt. And after those are all done, wait for it. We're going to be able to type Grunt. Grunt's going to pull all of our gems and put them locally. After those are done, Bower is going to run and is going to grab those couple Bower components that we need and put those in. Of course, the gems take a little bit of time. And that's just obviously going to take a long time once for the initial install. Once those files are there, it's going to go, okay, you've already got them, and it moves on. So once that's done, But the idea is okay, it's going to run Bower, it's going to pull all those packages down, runs Compass, runs Dev. There's a folder, I hit Styleguide, and I'm good to go. So all I had to do was pull it down, npm install Grunt, and I'm at here. I'm ready to start developing. I'm ready to start making changes and those types of things. And that's the beauty of it. If you're trying to onboard new people, you've got this build system that has all your dependencies, that has all just everything you need to get started without ever committing any of these third-party libraries or any of the compiled assets or any of that. So it's a beautiful thing. All of your Git commits are really clean. All your Git diffs are super clean, and it makes your build system just really awesome. That's all I can say. So anyway, that's it for today. Next week, I'm going to make sure to finish out the watching so that I can make changes to within Sass, and then the hologram's going to rerun and all that kind of stuff. And live reload it all in, which makes developing on that really nice. And then after that, we can start building our components and putting those together and actually making a page out of this. So we've got a long haul here. There's a lot of stuff going on, but we're building a really robust system. I'm going to try some visual diffing, which again, for a single page site is completely ridiculous. We don't need this much for a single page site. But the point is that let's build this huge, great system that could handle a very large site and show how those pieces go together. So thanks for sticking around today. I know it's a long episode. There's a lot to get in there. You've got that gist. I tweeted out. I'll put it out as well in the notes within GitHub, so you can get that. So thanks again, and we will catch you next week. I think Thursday's looking good, so hopefully we'll see you then. See you next week on Sass Bites.